strong.
Hey, how's it going? Ben here. Yeah, as you can see from that little intro, I've just been on a 1,000-kilometer round trip to Bangkok and back for my passport. I needed to get a new passport, so yeah, took a month and many hours of driving in a car across Thailand. So I thought today I would talk to you about some of the pros and some of the cons of living abroad. So these are some of the things I've thought about and some of the things I've been thinking about a lot recently. So yeah, let's do this. Pros and cons, or pros and cons of living abroad. Con, documents. So this would be your visa, your passport, your health insurance, all of that kind of good stuff. Yeah, as I mentioned before in the intro, and as you may have seen a little bit of my trip, I recently have to renew my passport, and I was reminded how this is way more complicated when you're living abroad. You know, the process is much longer. I had to go to an office in Bangkok. They had to order the new passport for me. It had to be printed in the UK, shipped back to that office in Bangkok. I had to then go back to Bangkok on a certain day and pick that up. The whole process took around a month and probably cost around 150 quid for the passport, but way more when you include the travel costs, because I don't live in Bangkok and that is the only place to do it. Yeah, as opposed to in your home country, I mean, you just do this via the post, don't you? So this is, yeah, a unique problem of living abroad, a little bit of a con. I'm also including visas. Visas are universal. If you're outside of your home country, then you're going to need a visa. Maybe not if you're here for travel, so some tourism visas, I know here in Thailand, you're visa exempt from certain countries if you're coming to travel, to make it that bit easier for holiday makers, because it is such a big part of the economy, and many countries have different deals with different countries that will help you with this. But if you're here for an extended period, if you're here working, if you're here retired, if you're here to study, or to start a business or so on, then the visa process can be expensive, can be a little bit confusing, and the penalties for mistakes or mishaps and overstay are quite severe, same as anywhere in the world. But it is a con of living abroad, I think. That added layer of yeah, it's a little bit of added layer of stress that seems to pop up throughout the year. You're consistently going to immigration. If maybe you're reporting, you're renewing, you're extending your visa. Often you have to travel into a different country if you want to change visas. It's a very old system. Again, it's the same all over the world, but it's quite a dated system for the modern world, with people working remotely, and yes, it's just a con of living abroad. Pro, the weather. So in many cases, I imagine you're moving from a colder country to a much more warmer or tropical country. Maybe that's just because of what I did. I moved from Manchester in the UK to Thailand, and obviously that's quite a big difference in climate. Manchester is a city famous for grey skies and rain, so to come to somewhere like Thailand where it's rarely below 25 degrees was quite the pro for me. It does take a little bit of getting used to. I can't focus at work if there's no aircon. I struggle to sleep at night sometimes in the hotter seasons. That's if I don't have aircon, which is quite rare. So yeah, maybe it isn't such a big pro, but I think the massive thing that outweighs this is just the ability to be able to sit outside, like in the mornings especially, or in the evenings, and talk with your friends. You don't need to go somewhere, you can just hang out outside. It's amazing, and it's surprising how much of a big pro that does seem to be to me. I love the fact that I don't need to take a jumper and a coat everywhere I go in case it rains or it suddenly turns cold. So yeah, big pro, the weather. Con, finance. So yeah, this is transaction fees, currency exchange fees, wages. There's lots of things in finance that I found to be a bit of a con in living abroad. So if you're trying to move money from a different country to the new country you're in, then you'll find a myriad of different types of fees. So yeah, the first thing you'll probably notice is when you go, you can use your Visa card if you have one from a UK bank in Asia. You'll go to the ATM machine and you'll have a service charge of around £5, and then the transaction fee around £2 or £3, and then the exchange might not be very good, so you're losing money there. So yeah, finance can be a really tricky thing if you're not on top of it. And there are applications. So one good one I found is TransferWise. That's a much cheaper alternative of moving money. In fact, I'll leave a link in the description to TransferWise if you want to check it out. You do need a bank in the two countries that you're moving money between, but I found it to be a much cheaper alternative to different applications and different methods of moving money, I found. So yeah, the fees are around, depending on how much you move, but it can be anything from £1 to £2, £1 to £2 for moving money from a UK bank to a Thai bank, which I do have now. And that saved me a lot of money over the years, because you never know when your motorcycle is going to need new tyres, when you move house, and then you need to pay some deposit, or you need rent up front, so you may need to bring some money over from your savings. Can be very expensive, but applications like TransferWise do help that. And also, if you find work, you may find the wages are much lower. So before I moved out to Thailand, when I was a student, I was working in bars. I spent around a year working in a pub, and while I was working in the pub, I was probably making more money per month and annually than I do as a full-time teacher in a school in Thailand. So yeah, and I mean, the work, it's not linear either. I mean, I work a lot harder, a lot longer in the school in Thailand, but the actual, if you did convert the money I make to the money I made working at a pub, where I was often drinking, I was often just stood there drinking, making drinks, very friendly and quite relaxing. At times it did get busy, it did get stressful, but it's nothing compared to the responsibilities and training and equipment and things that are required to teach in a classroom when you have 30 students who are all depending on your attention and hard work. So the money may be a massive con for you depending on what you're doing out here. And it's not just the exchange fees and the lower wages that may be a big con for you. Things like student loan debt's a little bit more complicated, so it seems quite an automatic and streamlined process back in the UK. It's a little more tricky out here, and there's different categories and different barriers of repayment that you need to keep check on. And also getting mortgages and loans. If you're living abroad, you'll probably find it quite difficult to get a loan. I don't think you can get a mortgage from a bank to buy property in a different country. As far as I can tell, there are some banks, and the opportunities or the countries that those mortgages are available are limited. You're also probably going to find it very difficult to even open a bank in your new country, and if you do, then it's quite rare. There are some opportunities now, so it's not impossible, but it's pretty difficult to get a mortgage on your own. So buying property or borrowing money is pretty difficult. So yeah, that's another con of living abroad. Pro, cost of living. So let's counterbalance that last con of finance with the pro of cost of living. So I make less money in Thailand, but my cost of living is much more. So in the UK I made more money, but my cost of living was way up here. So depending on your situation, you might actually find yourself better off in a different country, especially if the cost of living is so much lower. Let me give you some good examples. Food, so if you go out for a meal, you could probably get a meal for around 60 baht. You could get a pad thai with some chicken. You could get a curry with some chicken and rice. You get the idea. And you could probably get a meal like that, a kind of fast food box meal, for about 60 baht, which is around £2, maybe less, so around £2, maybe a little bit less. So that's for a full meal out. And the big one I'd say would be your home. So my first apartment, or little like a condo I was renting, it was just a one room, one bedroom with a sofa and a TV and a small balcony. There was a sink and an area that I could cook in, and there was a bathroom and air conditioner, which was vital for me. But yeah, pretty basic. Not the lowest, but at the low end of property prices out here, and I was paying around, so my base pay was 4,500 baht with electricity and water bill on top. I was probably paying around somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000 baht depending on the month, so that's per month, and it's around 100 quid, something like that. So it's about £100 per month for your room, all done and said. So the cost of living is much cheaper out here. The condo I'm living in now is in a holiday destination, so it's more expensive. It's much nicer, much better, well furnished, bigger kitchen, bigger bathroom, gym, swimming pool near the beach, and I'm paying around 8,500 baht per month. The bills, the electricity, the water, the Wi-Fi is also more expensive here, and that brings my total up to around 10,000 baht per month. But that's still £250 per month. And if you would compare that with the UK, so before I moved out here, when I was a student, I had a few different student accommodations that weren't too good, but the one I specifically remember was a house I had with three other friends, so there's 4 of us total living in this terrace house. So first of all, it was in a pretty rough area of Manchester. There were some break-ins on our street that I saw, so it didn't feel that safe. There was 1 bathroom between 4 of us, 1 living room, 1 kitchen between 4 of us. It was a full house, so it was a good-sized kitchen, good-sized living room. But I was paying £500 per month to share a house with 3 other people in the UK in a pretty dodgy area. So yeah, the comparison and living costs of a nicer lifestyle can be much reduced depending on which country you go to. So that could be a possible big pro for you as well. Con, alienation. So yeah, this is kind of something I've been thinking about a little bit recently. Because of the COVID situation, I've not been able to travel home for 2 years, so I am missing home and I'm starting to feel a little bit lonely. But being somewhere where you're not a native language speaker, so you're surrounded by language you don't understand, you're surrounded by unfamiliar people perhaps, you don't have so many friends, your family doesn't live there, you can quickly become quite alienated, so you can start to miss your family, miss the food from your home country, miss the drinks from your home country, miss the television from your home country. So yeah, alienation is a real problem that you can experience of living abroad. I mean, it's not the biggest problem, but it can be a little bit of emotional issues. I know there are people out here who struggle with food and miss their family too much, and it makes it that bit difficult living abroad, and it can make quite simple challenges become bigger challenges when you're feeling a little bit lost and lonely. So I've included it on this list, and that's all I have to say about it. But yeah, alienation, missing your home, missing your family, missing your friends is quite a big challenge of living in a different country. Pro, food. So yeah, if you're fortunate like me, then you might end up in a country famous around the world for its food. You've probably heard of pad thai, the green curry, the red curry, the massaman curry, Penang. Maybe you've heard of the papaya salad, or you've tried some of the fried rice, or the coconut, or the fresh seafood. There's lots of great food that comes from Thailand, and I'm very fortunate to be here and able to enjoy it. It's not just the meals that people cook. I think there's a better, how can I word it? I think naturally the diet here is skewed more towards a high protein and low carb diet, which does seem to be a little bit more healthy, to be honest. A good example of this is if you wanted a snack, you're much more likely to just go outside, and on every street there's a guy with a barbecue selling skewers of chicken, skewers of pork or seafood. You can get anything grilled relatively easy if you're hungry, which is probably actually more healthy than just going for the bag of crisps or a sandwich or a bag of chips as you would do back home. So that I think naturally it's more of like a meat, vegetables and rice diet out here. There's a little bit less complex carbohydrates, and that can lead to an overall better lifestyle and fitness, I think, and it all stems from the diet. So not only is the food and not only are the dishes famous and full of flavour, but the food seems fresher, the vegetables, the fruit is all grown locally, the meat seems to be butchered fairly locally, which I think is a big bonus to the freshness and overall taste. And I think the diet is slightly more skewed to a protein high and lower carbohydrate mix, which is I think probably better, if I'm honest. So yeah, well, it's better for me anyway. It seems to have been better for me. So yeah, that's the last one. I'll end on food. We could go on and on. I guess there's many pros, many cons to living abroad, but that's where we're going to finish today. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what you think the biggest pro or the biggest con would be for living abroad. So let me know in the link, especially if you are living abroad or you plan to live abroad soon. What are the biggest pros and what are the biggest cons that you're thinking about? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. And until next time, see you later. Goodbye.